College Game Day is the premier college football pregame show. If you're like us, you watch it every single weekend before your college football slate every Saturday. This year they've done something a little bit precedented, or unprecedented, excuse me, where they have said their first 3 weeks before the season's even started. Football doesn't start for another 6 days, but they've already said in week 1 they're going to LSU and Clemson. Week 2 they're going to Texas and Ohio State. And just recently announced they said they were going to be going to Ole Miss versus LSU in week 3. So we thought it would be super fun to say, hey, where are they going to go every single week this season? We're going to be giving you guys a place where they should be going and a game they actually will go to. So we'll throw it over to Matt. Where do you think they're going to be going? Or excuse me, where do you think they should be going week 4?
There's a bunch of good games in week 4. They got Oregon at USC, Iowa, Michigan, Oklahoma, Georgia. Bunch of good games. I think they should be going to Oklahoma, Georgia, but I think that this is the first week USC will get College Game Day of the year, and they'll head out to LA to go to Oregon at USC.
So we've got it flipped, actually, Matt, over here. I've got USC versus Oregon as the game they should go to, but I think they are going to go to Georgia, Oklahoma, especially if Oklahoma beats Michigan, that week 2 matchup at the Big House. This will be a top 10 matchup. I don't think they're going to be able to skip that.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. No matter what, it'll be good, but in the future, I have USC in other places, so.
I gotcha. So for week 5, the game that I think they should be going to is Washington at USC. This will be a very interesting game. It is a old Pac-12 rivalry here. Both these teams are projected to be pretty good. Very big year for Lincoln Riley at USC. He's been brought in there to get him championships and take him to the football playoffs. He hasn't done either of them. Hasn't won a conference championship. Really hasn't gotten close since he got there. And he has not also gotten them to the playoffs either. So it's where I think they should go, but I think they will end up going to Ohio State and Iowa. That game's going to be fun. Potential for a really big upset there in front of everybody at Iowa. And a lot of weird things happen there. Iowa kind of reminds me of Auburn. Weird things just happen when you play their primetime game, big opponent.
I agree. I have the same thing. I think that Iowa is going to be better than people think, and I can't think of the coach's name off the top of my head, but their coach is sneaky. It could be a good matchup. Ohio State needs to watch out for them. But yeah, I have Ohio State at Iowa. I think that's where they go.
I got
Being nice little different place than the normals they always go to.
Yeah, definitely. Another honorable mention for a should for that week is South Dakota State versus Illinois State. Big FCS matchup now that North Dakota State is gone, kind of for the big dog in that conference. Week 6, Matt, this is an interesting week. They've got 2 really good games, a game that they love going to, a place they love going to, Georgia and Alabama. That's the game I think they should go to. Georgia ends up beating, that scrappy Oklahoma team week 4. It should be pretty good. Alabama probably going to be undefeated at this point in the season unless they slip up against somebody. But I think they're going to end up going to the Red River Shootout. They love going to that game. They love that Texas State fair background. I think that's where they're going to end up going.
I think I actually have it flipped. I have Texas OU as the mention, where I think they should go, but I think they'll end up at Georgia, Alabama. It's 2 SEC schools, the 2 best SEC schools in my opinion. I mean, I know that Caleb and the Bull in Alabama's been down the last year or 2, but I still think it's the powerhouse of those 2, and it's always a good matchup when they go there. So I think that's where they'll end up for my week 6.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. I think either of those games are going to be good ones. Now, week 7, there's some pretty good matchups here. This is one where I know that we are very disagreeing on where they think they should be going. For me, the should is Ohio State at Indiana or Penn State at Michigan. All these games are really good that week, or at least most of them that week are really good. These 2 stand out to me as ones that are very good. They should be really well. Ohio State at Indiana. Indiana lost to them a few years ago during that kind of magical season that they had with Signetti's first year. Indiana obviously beat them last year in the Big Ten championship, went on to win the national championship undefeated. We all know that. But this game is really going to kind of prove Indiana as the new big dog in the Big Ten versus the perennial power. Or it's going to be Ohio State saying, hey, we're still here. You had a couple good years. You got the best of us last year, but we're still here. We're here to stay. But the game I think they're going to be going to, Matt, is Notre Dame at BYU. This is one of Notre Dame's 2 big games the whole year. I think they're going to end up choosing this one because there are some better games for them to go to during their other one.
Yeah, I think I have it the opposite. I think they should go to Notre Dame at BYU, but I think they'll end up at Ohio State at Indiana. BYU is going to be really good. They might be second in their conference to Texas Tech, but I think that's the game they should go to. But unfortunately, I think they're going to end up at Ohio State, Indiana, just a bigger game. They always love to go to that game now since Indiana just won it and they're really good. So that's where I think they'll end up.
I like it. I like it. Week 8 is a little bit harder to pick here, at least for a should game. Game that I have is the Brendan Sorsby Bowl, Texas Tech at Cincinnati. Now that he's not there, not as much of a lure as it usually would have had if he would have stayed. So the game that I chose was A&M at Alabama. There's that old SEC West beef that started with Johnny Manziel. A&M kind of got the best of them more recently as well. Alabama still beat them before the the divisions got disbanded, but there is still that bad blood between these two teams. They don't like each other. It'll be a really big environment. Both teams, like I said, have really big high hopes for this season, but I do think that it's going to be a bigger game that week. I think Alabama's probably going to end up winning it a lot easier than most people think, but it's going to be one of those matchups where it's really hyped up going into it, and it's not going to be as good as we thought it was going to be, but this will be College Game Day. It'll be their yearly trip to Alabama.
I had them going to Alabama already, so I have two other ones. I got Indiana at Michigan, and then you got Houston at Utah, where I think they should go, but I think they'll end up in Michigan at the Big House, Indiana at Michigan. That's going to be a big one, a fun one. If Michigan can win those couple early games that they have that are tough ones, then they will definitely go there.
Who do you have week 9, Matt? Week 9. What do you
Week
have?
9, I have South Dakota at South Dakota State is where they should go. But a sleeper I have is Florida at Georgia. But I think that they'll end up at USC, Ohio State at USC.
I like it. I like it. So I actually have 2 FCS games as my should this week. Obviously, South Dakota and South Dakota State's the big one. Now that North Dakota State's gone, South Dakota State, they don't have that Dakota marker game anymore. You're always going to have that in-state rivalry aspect of this. But the Dakota marker game, it's kind of like Georgia and Florida. That game means a lot more to some fans than Georgia and Georgia Tech, for example. There's probably a lot of South Dakota State fans that like that matchup against North Dakota State better than the South Dakota matchup. This is a big game. Both these teams are supposed to be good in the FCS. They've been pretty good the past few years. At least South Dakota has after being down for a little bit. But the other one that I have, it's near and dear to my heart, is EKU at Tarleton State. This game is a big one. These are the two teams that you always talk about with teams that are jumping up from the FCS to the FBS. It's pretty obvious they both want to jump up. They both want to go to Conference USA. ESPN and College Game Day, at least traditionally, has never really talked about conference realignment, but they're starting to talk about it more. They could play into this a little bit. I think it'd be a good game to go to, especially with Tarleton State supposed to be really good. EKU's not supposed to be terrible, but still pretty good. And then the game I think they're going to end up going to is the one that you gave an honorable mention to, Matt. I say that they are going to be going to Atlanta for Georgia and Florida. As we all know, this game is being moved to neutral sites from another neutral site. Should just be played on campus, but, it is what it is. We can't complain about it now. But I don't think they're going to take up the opportunity to not go to Atlanta for that matchup.
It's a good pick. Good pick. Week 10.
Week 10. This is the week that it's not should they go here, it's they could go here.
Yeah.
But there's one game that stands out. Plenty of games this week. Ole Miss versus Georgia, Bama at LSU, the Holy War. Plenty of games that College Game Day could go to. But I think they're going to end up going to Oregon at Ohio State. This is the potential for a number 1 versus number 2. It's going to be a really good game. I think we've seen teams struggle going from the West Coast to the East Coast. Would love to see how Oregon responds to that. Would love to just see Ohio State. The shoe's going to be rocking that game. There's a lot of really good games they could go to that week, but this is the one that I think they're going to be going to.
Yeah, that's my honorable mention, actually. I actually think they should go to – this is where I think they should go to BYU. They should go to Utah, BYU. That's going to be a rowdy one, a fun one. But the game I think they'll end up at is Notre Dame. Miami at Notre Dame in Notre Dame. That'll be a rowdy one. That's the first trip this year. They'll go to Notre Dame. Notre Dame's going to be really good. CJ Carr. It's going to be a good one. So I think they end up there.
Yeah, that's another potential undefeated matchup right there too. Especially if Notre Dame beats BYU earlier in the year, then there's no reason why they shouldn't be.
Oh yeah, for
undefeated.
sure.
So we'll
For
see.
sure.
We'll see how that goes. Week 11 game I think they should go to here is Texas at LSU. Main reason why, I know they've already been to LSU. We're trying to avoid them going to two places at once, or excuse me, once a year. You know what I mean? 2 times in a year. But with Texas LSU, it's the Manning factor here. Arch Manning is returning to the state of Louisiana, the place where he grew up, just a very short drive down the road from Baton Rouge in New Orleans. And he's back. He's back with Texas. The Mannings are finally going to be making their debut there, at least on the Texas side of things. Fun fact too, Matt, this is the first time Texas will ever play at LSU. They've played 2 times previously. Both of those games have been at Texas. This will be the first time Texas ever goes to Death Valley to play LSU. But I think they're going to end up going to Indiana and USC. This will be the Indiana stop after they won the national championship. Personally, I think that Game Day should go to the previous year's national champion at least once.
Yeah,
so
I
this
agree.
would be their stop at Indiana. That's why I think they're going to be going there week 11.
I have the same thing. I have USC at Indiana, Texas at LSU. I also have 2 others on here that I just honorable mentions: Texas Tech at Oklahoma State, Michigan at Oregon. But I think they'll end up at USC, Indiana as well. Like you said, former national champ, coming off a wonderful season. They always have to make one stop at their house. So I think they end up at the USC at Indiana game for sure. USC is on a lot of these.
Yeah, they are. I mean, USC is...
They have a
they're
loaded schedule, so that
They
helps.
have a lot of opportunities to be on game day this year.
Yeah.
Just because they have a really good schedule.
Yep.
But also, they try to make those West Coast trips at least once or twice a year. And let's just be honest with ourselves, Oregon doesn't have the best home schedule this year. Washington doesn't have the best home schedule. So USC is kind of that other team that they're going to use
Yeah, for sure.
as the team they go to.
Yep.
Week 12. This is a game that they should go to. They should have gone to last year, and they haven't gone to since 2022. And again, like I said, it should have been the game they went to last year instead of whoever they went to. It caused a huge outrage. I can't remember who it was. They need to go to Montana at Montana State.
Amen, brother. I agree.
They have not been to this game. It'll be 4 years now. Now that North Dakota State and South Dakota State is gone, this is 100% the premier rivalry in the FCS. This will most likely be an FCS 1 versus 2. Montana's looking for revenge. Montana State upset them at their house last year, and they went on to win the national championship, beating them again at Montana State in the Final Four of the FCS. This is potentially a FCS national championship game in the regular season, because let's be honest, now that North Dakota State's gone, the winner of this is probably going to be 1. The loser of it's probably going to be 2 in the FCS playoffs unless something goes absolutely horribly wrong.
Yeah,
This
for
is a
sure.
game they have to go to. This is a game, realistically, they should be going to every single year, but they don't. But if they're going to make it stop at an FCS game this year, it has to be this. It has to be these guys. It has to.
For sure, for sure. I agree 100%. That's the team that's the game they should go to. That's going to be such a good game. I love that game. It's a fun one.
Yeah, the game I think they're going to end up going to, though, is Virginia Tech and Miami. There's a little bit of... It's hard to pick a game this week for them to go to that they haven't already gone to, if they haven't gone to somebody else. I think another sleeper for this game could potentially be Tennessee at LSU. I'm not very high on Tennessee this year, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm not either.
I don't think that's going to be a game that they go to. But Virginia Tech and Miami is the game I chose. Could have some big ACC potential. They like going to Miami. With Virginia Tech having their new coach, is James Franklin going to be able to take them to really good success in year 1? Probably not to where Virginia Tech used to be, like how it was in the early 2000s. But it's still going to be really interesting to see where he takes him this year. That's why I have him at this spot here.
My for sure spot for me is Indiana at Washington. They're going to head out west, stop at Washington. Washington's going to be good this year, so they're going to be a fun one to watch. And if Washington holds up till at least have like 1, maybe 2 losses max till they get to week 12 to play Indiana, that would be a really good matchup. So Indiana at Washington.
I like it. I like it. Week 13, rivalry week. It's tough to choose this one.
It's always tough.
It's always pretty obvious they're either going to go to the game or they're going to go to the Iron Bowl. It's where they should go. Those two games, they just mean more. They do. They both do. It's going to be interesting to see, if Auburn is a lot better under their first year head coach there. Same with Michigan having their new coach, even though he's not really a new coach. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see, though, how those go. That being said, I think they're not going to go to either one of those. I think they will be going to a matchup that should be played every single year. It's been played for over 100 years. It is not being played next season, which is insane to think about. But that is Farmageddon. Farmageddon, Iowa State, Kansas State, both are probably going to be awful, but by God, it's going to be fun. Let's get some variety in here. That's where I think they'll be going week 13.
I have a couple mentions. I have Texas at Texas A&M, Washington at Oregon, Michigan at Ohio State. You could go to any of those. I like the bottom two, Washington at Oregon or Michigan at Ohio State. But I think this is where they end up at Ohio State. Michigan at Ohio State, rivalry game, always a fun one, fights, everything. You love to see that game, even though I hate the Big Ten, but that's a game that they just can't miss. They always go there. So I think they end up at Michigan at Ohio State.
Yeah, no,
But Michigan has to hold up their own until this point. Otherwise, if Michigan's bad, then they probably may not show up. But if Michigan holds up their own and they're good enough, then they'll definitely go there.
Yeah, it sucks, but there's some potentially really good matchups that are on Friday or earlier in the week, including Texas and Texas A&M. It's possible they do two. It's very possible they do two.
Have they ever done two?
They did two, but I don't know if they will.
I don't think they've ever done it.
They've done it before with the playoffs, but I don't know if they'll do it before.
And I don't think they'll do it in the regular season, but we'll see.
No, we'll see, though. Week 14, it's obvious they're going to go to the SEC championship game. They always go to the SEC championship game. Disney has a big stake in ESPN. They want to go to the SEC because they also broadcast the SEC. So that's where they'll end up going. It's where they always go. It's already obvious. Week 15, only one game that week. I hope they go here. It's not guaranteed that they will, but I hope they go to Army-Navy because that is a game they should be going to every single year. So hopefully they go there. Matt, you have anything else?
No, I don't.
Awesome. Well, that is our predictions for where ESPN's College Game Day should go and where we think they actually will go in the 2026 season. Very much looking forward to football. We've made it. Starts in 6 days. The off season is almost over, and at this time next week we will be talking about the games that happened rather than games that are going to happen.
We're so hyped, so excited.
We will see you guys soon. Thank you for watching. Let us know how good we did, how terrible we are. We'd love to hear that as well. But you guys have a good rest of your day. We'll see you next time.